basics of getting your TR1 set up for the first time. First thing that you do is you hit the power button, and you're going to notice that the little yellow or LED lights on each of your controls is going to start blinking. It's not important that they blink at the same rate. It is important that each device blinks at a nice steady rate. When the system's ready, all the lights are going to turn solid, and that's going to let us know that we're ready to get started here. So light just turned solid. We're ready to get started. The first calibration that you need to do on the water, and we recommend you do it with the main motor, is that you calibrate the compass, and that's code 47. So we're going to hit the setup button. The setup light is going to light. We're going to light the 4 and the 7. These two lights are going to light solid. We're going to hold down the select load button, and we're going to tap the deck mount switch. So now you're going to notice my top light lights up solid. As soon as it starts blinking, we're going to start doing some slow clockwise circles. We want those circles to take about 45 seconds to a minute. The important thing is to try to keep the boat flat, which is why we're doing on a nice calm day like today. Okay, it started blinking, so we're going to go ahead and start doing some circles. Okay, TR1 has booted up. Everything is solid. We're going to hit the setup button till the light turns solid. We're going to light our 4 and our 8. So we're going to set our GPS north. And before we get started, I like to just double check to make sure everything's talking properly. And to do that, you just hold down the select load button. If it's receiving good GPS data from the Fishfinder, your top arrow light will stay dark. If it's not getting good GPS data, or you're getting widely different data, this is going to turn solid. If it turns solid, first double check all your network settings, see the screenshots that we've attached to the video, and just make sure everything's set correctly. If it's still solid and you're outputting good data, that just means that you need to go straight north when you're setting our calibration. Everything looks good here, so all we have to do is get up to a planing speed and go in a straight line. Really helps to have two people because you do have to be going relatively fast to do this. And while we're at planing speed, we hold down the select load and we tap our deck mount switch. When that happens and it completes successfully, the unit will shut off. If the unit does not shut off, it has not taken. And just tell your driver to make sure he's going in a straight line. Okay, so we've done our north set, so now we're ready to do our rudder calibration. Our rudder calibration is done by lighting our setup button and code 2. And when you're doing your rudder calibrations, you basically want to time how long it takes to get onto a heading. Good rule of thumb is we want it to take about 2 seconds to do a 5-degree turn. Easy way to test that is to just tap your straight arrows 5 times and count how long it takes to come onto that heading. So we're just a little bit low right there. It took about 3.5 seconds to come onto heading. So we want to dial that up just a little bit, and we're going to do it again. So I'm just going to hit my straight arrow and count how long it takes to come onto that heading. So doing pretty good now. Always like to test it both directions because again these are unique to each boat's characteristics. And our rudder's set about the way that we want. Remember, to make any change permanent, we want to hold down our select load button and tap our deck mount switch. That basically saves the adjustment I made for this boat into the computer. The next setting that we want to change is our counter rudder, and we want to do this by lighting our setup button and going down to code 3, our counter rudder. This one you want to be looking at the motor when you make that change, and you want to hold down that straight arrow and make a relatively large course correction. And we just want to look at the motor and see how active the motor is getting us onto the heading. So we see that it's much too active to get us onto that heading. So we're going to dial that down just a little bit. So we're going to make a big force change and see what that does to the counter rudder. It's pretty common for these out of the box to have the counter rudder dialed too high. See how much better that is? That's a pretty good tuned on the counter rudder there. We're going to exit that mode, hold down the select load, and tap our deck mount switch to make that change permanent. The other setting that you might want to adjust, and you're going to have to adjust this one frequently, is our sea state filter. You test your sea C-state filter by going in a straight line and seeing how active your motor is to hold you on that heading. If your motor is dialed correctly, it's going to hold you on that heading, but not be more active on the back of the boat than it needs to be. If you see the motor acting like a rabid chipmunk on the back of the boat when you're trying to go in a straight line on a calm day like today, you need to dial that C-state filter down, and that's code 1. So we light 1 and we would dial it down. Our motor is just about perfect, so we don't want to make that adjustment. If you get out on a rough day and you see that your motor's now holding heading, or the waves are making you make radical heading adjustments, you need to dial that up. Okay, we're going to go over some basic operation of the TR1 autopilot. When we're in standby, we can adjust settings and we can adjust our speed up and down, but we have no steering, so there's no pressure to the hydraulics right now. To lock on a heading, you just hit this top button. This light will turn solid. Until it turns solid, we don't have a heading lock, so if you're making some course corrections or something and it's blinking, that will tell us that we're not actually following a heading. Anytime that you manually steer with your bottom bent arrows, and that's code 6, you'll notice that this is now blinking. So I don't have a heading. If I want to lock a heading, and it's really easy for you to steer with your bent arrows, I would just tap one of these straight arrows here at the top, and that would lock a heading. So now I'm locked onto a heading. The light has turned solid. If I catch a fish and I want to drop down to idle, I can hit this idle resume button and drop down to idle. If I want to start using the TR1 again, I just hit the idle resume button and I jump back up to speed. If you want to see what any of your buttons are programmed to, just hold down your silent button and you'll notice that I have buttons 2, 6, and 7 lit. So that's telling me basically that this button here is programmed to 2 and this one is programmed to 6. If I wanted to put my bent arrows as step turns, I would light code 4 as an example. So now when I hit my bent arrows, I'm going to do a step turn. And the way a step turn differs from manual steer is with a step turn I essentially move however many degrees I've got it programmed to, and we've got it programmed to 45 degrees here, and I lock onto that new heading. So if you're fishing with planer boards, it's real helpful to use your step turns to be steering, because it basically means that you can move X number of degrees over with each press of that button. I'm holding this down. If I light this to code 3, and this is a real popular one, now when I hit this button, I'm going to do zigzags. Now the boat's going to start doing a slow zigzag pattern around my heading. Again, a real popular mode if you're fishing with planer boards and you've got a lot of open water in front of you. With our lakes, there's enough boats that are fishing out about 150 feet with the planer boards that you frequently don't have enough open water to be using this mode. Again, with any of these, you can adjust how many degrees and what the frequency rate of your turns is. That's the GPS functionality of this unit now. So to do that, we first need something for the TR1 to follow. So we're out here on Hayden Lake, and we're just going to make a new route. So I'm going to touch on the screen, and I get this new option on an HDS Fishfinder. I hit new and route, and we're just going to make a route real quick. So we've got a route set up. I'm going to save it. And you can do this with any fish finder that's got route capability. I'm going to start from this waypoint right here, the second waypoint of my route. So I'm going to click on my route, so I'm going to hit start. It's going to ask me which direction I want to go. I want to go forward. And you'll notice that there's a red line now on my fish finder. It's now sending information to the TR1. But I haven't told the TR1 at this point to follow that route. To do that, I hit the GPS track button, and you'll notice that it turns solid. If it's blinking, that means I've lost my route for whatever reason. So I'm now following that route. And again, with a Garmin or Humminbird fish finder, the mechanism is largely the same. The important thing to note on any autopilot, an autopilot will keep you within the shaded area. It will not keep you directly on the line. Particularly a heading autopilot like the TR1 will have a big tendency to cut corners. So make sure that you're not plotting your route too close to terrain or other hazards. Okay, so now we're going to do a real basic one, and we're going to go to the cursor. So I'm just going to hit the screen, and I'm going to hit go to cursor. This is like the easy version of a route, and you notice I now have a waypoint with a red line going to it, which means I now have information the TR1 can follow. I just hit my GPS track button, it lights solid, and the boat now goes to wherever I clicked on the cursor. Now this can be a waypoint, or it can just be a random point on the screen that you want to go to. And I'm going to demonstrate what happens if you lose GPS guidance with the TR1 autopilot. So I'm just going to hit navigation and cancel. So I'm now no longer feeding information to the network, which means the TR1 no longer has GPS guidance to follow. So this light is now blinking. When it's blinking, that means the TR1's really not following anything. I do still have an active heading, but I wouldn't rely on it. So the way to clear that that's easiest is to just hit this top button, switch to standby, and then switch back to a heading. Clears your GPS and locks on a heading that we can be confident.